Hey friend, please subscribe. 1 second for you. Big deal for me.
Mom was plating asparagus with tongs like she was hosting the damn governor's ball. I walked in, still wearing my Westridge polo and carrying a pie I picked up on the way. My back hurt from driving 3 hours round trip for the regional math meet, and my voice was shot from cheering. Our team had taken first at the Ohio Math Olympiad. Best finish in school history. I had the trophy in the trunk. Didn't even bother to bring it inside. I knew exactly how that would go. I'm Lucas. I was 30 then, still living in Dayton, teaching math and physics at Westridge High, and tutoring on weekends to scrape together extra for bills. The Parkers, that's us, are my folks, Valerie and Dennis, my younger sister Emma and me. Emma was 26, and as usual, the center of gravity. Dinner was for Emma's big leap into marketing at some trendy startup in Cincinnati. My parents lit candles, broke out the good plates. Not even for Christmas do they pull the crystal stemware. I helped fold napkins and carve the roast. Then Emma blew in with her boyfriend Chase. Tall guy with a blinding watch and a firm handshake like he'd practiced it. Big laugh. Called my dad, Sir. Mom hugged him like he'd won something. Hope I'm not late, Emma said, setting down her bag like it was a purse commercial. Chase held her chair out like a waiter at a 5-star spot. I waited for a lull and said, Hey, my team won the regional math meet today. One of my students solved a proof that stumped the judges. Mom looked up from pouring wine. Oh, that's nice, honey, she said, like I'd just mentioned it might rain tomorrow. Emma, tell us about the brand partners again. You said they sent you samples? Quick note. Before listening, share in the comments which city or country you're watching from. And let's continue. Chase jumped in. It's wild. Emma was pivotal. This client's a huge lifestyle name. They're sending products weekly now, like top-shelf stuff. Her influence is moving the needle. Dad leaned in like the president was giving a briefing. You're in a very dynamic space, Em. Very dynamic, I tried again. I'm up for senior teacher. There's a grant tied to it. Could fund a robotics lab next year. Nobody flinched. Not a single follow-up. They just passed the green beans. We made it to dessert. Tiramisu from a bakery I knew Emma liked. And that's when Mom turned to me. Lucas, you should really learn from your sister. She has drive. She's going places. Emma just smiled into her wine like the lighting hit her just right. It wasn't the words that got me. It was how practiced it felt. Like someone had typed it in the family group chat ahead of time and everyone remembered their lines. I started clearing plates. Dad chuckled as I passed him. Buddy, not everyone's built for the big leagues. That same line since I was 12, always with the same slap on the back that meant, good effort, sport. Back in the car, I checked my phone. My principal had texted. They were putting the math team's win in the school newsletter. I locked the screen and sat for a second. The windows of the house glowed behind me like it was a stage play, and I'd just walked off set. Again. On the drive home, I couldn't stop running the numbers in my head. 3 months ago, I'd covered their HOA dues. $310. Then the property tax bill, over $5,000, just for a bit, Dad said. And Emma's car payment in January because she had a weird banking issue, plus 2 minimum payments on her credit cards, one for groceries, one for emergency expenses. I told myself that's what family does, that I was stable enough to carry the slack. But later that night, I opened my banking app and just stared at it. I was going broke so other people could play rich. 2 weeks later, I was sitting in my classroom during lunch, grading physics labs with half a sandwich in my mouth, when Nolan, one of my seniors, came in like he always did, fast, loud, zero filter. Yo, Mr. Parker, didn't know your family was vacationing in paradise. I looked up. He had his phone angled toward me. There it was, my parents, Emma and Chase, standing in front of a turquoise ocean, holding drinks with flowers in them. The caption said, Family Time in Maui. I blinked, wiped my hand on a napkin, and took the phone from him. There were 5 or 6 more photos in the carousel. One of them had Dad wearing a white linen shirt, trying to look casual, while holding up a glass like he was giving a toast. Emma was smiling behind him, sunglasses tilted just right. In another, Chase was behind the wheel of an open-top Jeep, grinning like it was an ad for something I couldn't afford. I handed Nolan's phone back without saying anything. "You didn't go?" he asked, raising an eyebrow. "Nope," I said, grabbing another paper off the stack. "Damn," he muttered. "Cold." Then he walked out. I sat there for a second, pen frozen mid-check mark. I wasn't angry. That was the weird part. I felt nothing. No sting, no jealousy. Just this dull quiet inside me, like someone had flipped off a switch I didn't know I had. Quick note. Before we start, share in the comments how's your day going and where you're joining from. And let's continue. I called Mom later that afternoon, sitting in my car in the school lot. She answered on the third ring, sounding breezy, relaxed. "Oh, hi, sweetie." "Everything okay?" "I just saw the photos," I said. "From Maui." She didn't miss a beat. "We didn't think you could get away from your classes." Emma really needed a break. She's been under so much stress. Not even a pause. "No. Wish you were here." "No. We meant to invite you. Just clean, like it had already been justified and filed away." "Got it," I said. "Don't take it the wrong way," she added. "We knew you'd be buried in school stuff." And Emma needed to decompress. I hung up before I said something I couldn't take back. An hour later, Emma texted me. "Sorry, assumed you were buried with school. It was last minute. Don't be mad I wasn't mad. Just tired." I scrolled through more of their posts that night while heating up leftover pasta. One of them showed Chase shirtless on the sand, flexing next to some ridiculous quote about hard work and reward. Another had Emma tagged at a spa talking about recharging with family. The captions all had that forced, "we're so blessed" tone, like they were writing for people who didn't know them. That night I stayed late at school. Didn't even mean to. Ended up in the staff lot around 8 o'clock, packing up papers when Ray Ortiz walked by. He was heading to his car, coffee in one hand, the other buried in his jacket pocket. Ray's 58, been teaching longer than I've been alive, and doesn't bother with sugarcoating. He took one look at me and said, "They dazzle you and hand you the bill again?" I nodded. "You have no idea." "Try me," he said, leaning against the hood of my car. So I told him. I laid out everything. The HOA payments, $310 a month so they wouldn't fall behind. The property taxes, over $5,600 I'd covered in April. Emma's car note. I'd been paying it for 18 months because she didn't want to wreck her credit. And those credit card payments? Just twice, I told him. Once for groceries, once for some emergency that was so urgent, she never told me what it was. Ray let out a low whistle and shook his head. "Lucas, you're not helping. You're sponsoring. Write it all down. Every dollar. If it's family, they should be able to look it in the eye." That stuck with me. Not because it was profound, because it was true. I went home that night and opened my laptop. I pulled up old emails, bank statements, receipts. Started a spreadsheet. Townhome. HOA, $310 per month, times 14 months, $4,340. Property taxes, $5,620. Emma's car note, $385 per month for 18 months, $6,930. Credit card payments, one for $420, one for $360. Total $780, first pass. I added a notes column for when I paid them, just to keep the timeline straight, just to see it all in one place. The next night, after combing older statements, I found a third card bailout I'd forgotten and the dentist bill I'd put on my card months back. I updated the ledger. Credit card bailouts equals $3,400 total. Dentist equals $1,180. I sat back and stared at the number. A little over 17 grand on the first pass. $17,000 I had pulled out of my own life, out of groceries, out of savings, out of sleep, so they could post beach photos and call it family time. And then I remembered something else. something I hadn't looked at in years. I opened another browser tab. Just curiosity, not expecting anything. I searched the county property records, typed in my parents' address, the house I grew up in, the one I'd been helping keep current. There it was, clear as day. Deed transfer, 7 months back. New owner, Emma Parker. I sat there, eyes locked on the screen, mouse frozen. They hadn't said a word. I'd been covering the HOA and taxes, thinking it was still our house, but they'd quietly handed it to her, like passing off a baton, and just kept letting me run. I closed the laptop and leaned back. I felt like I'd been mugged in slow motion. Saturday came too fast. I'd spent the morning running SAT prep for a dozen juniors and barely had time to shower, let alone change. I tossed on a jacket over my Westridge polo and drove straight downtown to the steakhouse. The place was the kind of spot where valet guys judge your car. I handed off my 10-year-old Camry like I was offering them a dead cat. Inside, it smelled like butter and cigars, and everything had that expensive dim lighting that made even the silverware look smug. They'd booked a private room, 60 people, maybe more. White tablecloths, place cards, little flower bundles wrapped in ribbon. I walked in alone. Everyone else was already sipping wine. Mom greeted me with an air kiss and that little shoulder squeeze she does when she wants me to behave. "Smile," she whispered. "Don't bring stress tonight." I nodded, kept it moving. The speeches started after the steak came out. First Dad stood, cleared his throat like he was addressing a boardroom, and raised a glass. "Emma has always had natural leadership," he said, slow and proud, like he wrote it in advance. "From Girl Scouts to this new venture, she moves people. She delivers. And we are so proud to watch her soar." Everyone clapped. The woman next to me wiped at her mascara. Chase stood up next, loosened his collar, and said, "Let's be honest. Emma's big campaigns mean bigger horizons. She's a rocket. I'm just trying to hold on more laughter, more clinking glasses." Then came the moment I knew would happen. Always does. Mom's friend, Mrs. Green, sharp eyebrows, voice like an old newscaster, leaned across the table toward me. "So Lucas," she said, "what are you doing these days?" I opened my mouth, had the words ready, drone lab grant submitted, math team heading to state, seniors writing rec letters for MIT. Before I could even get the first syllable out, Dad jumped in with a laugh. "Oh, Lucas is helping. Keeping busy at the school, you know." He nodded toward the stage. "Emma's the one on a rocket." I sat back in my chair, took a sip of warm club soda, swallowed something that wasn't liquid. I wasn't embarrassed. I was stunned at how fast they reduced me to filler, like my work was a hobby they didn't want to acknowledge out loud. "I've actually been—" I tried again. Mom stood, glass in hand, and tapped it with her fork. "To Emma," she said, smiling wide. "Our success story." Everyone raised their glasses. No one looked at me. I didn't toast. I didn't move. Just sat there, fork on my plate, steak getting cold. The waiter came by and asked if I wanted another drink. I handed him the wine glass and said, "Just water." He nodded and disappeared. The party buzzed around me like static. Chase worked the room like he was the one being honored. Kissed cheeks, shook hands, bragged about brand partners he couldn't name and synergy he couldn't explain. Watching him, I realized something that took all the edge off my resentment. He wasn't evil. He just loved the image, loved the shine, and that image didn't have space for me in the frame. I sat back, pulled my chair a little from the table, just enough to let the noise dull. My eyes landed on the cake as the staff wheeled it in. 3 tiers, custom lettering, gold sparkles. Dad grabbed the mic again. "Let's hope one day Lucas chairs a department too. Then we'll have 2 stars in the family." People laughed. Someone patted my shoulder. I pretended to smile. I hugged Emma before leaving. She smelled like that designer vanilla lotion Mom always buys her for Christmas. She leaned in and said, "You're coming to the wedding menu tasting, right?" I asked, "When is it?" She gave that fake puzzled face. "We'll circle back." She never did. On the way out, I checked my phone. Ray had texted, "You bring the numbers Monday. I'll bring coffee." I stepped outside and let the cold air slap my face. The valet was moving slow, but I didn't care. I opened my notes app and typed a single sentence. "Stop paying automatic anything that has my name on it." Then I locked the screen and looked back through the restaurant window. They were laughing, eating cake, toasting Emma again. And for once, I didn't feel like trying to get back to the table. Monday morning, the teacher lounge smelled like old coffee and whatever microwave mistake someone left in the fridge over the weekend. The halls were still quiet, early enough that most people hadn't arrived yet. Ray was already there, sitting at the back table, legs stretched out, holding a styrofoam cup like it owed him rent. He didn't say anything when I walked in, just nodded and slid the calculator over to my side. It was one of those gray Casio bricks with yellowed keys, older than most of our freshmen, and somehow still more reliable than anything in the front office. I pulled out my printouts and my laptop, clicked open the spreadsheet. "All right," I said. "Here's the full bleed, updated after I combed the older statements." Ray leaned in as I started laying it out, line by line. "Townhome HOA," I said. $310 a month, 14 months straight. That's $4,340. He grunted and wrote it down. "Property taxes I fronted last April, $5,620. All in one hit." "Jesus," Ray muttered. "That could have been a new roof." "Emma's car, $385 a month, 18 months, $6,930. Ray kept his pen moving. I kept going. There were 3 emergency moments. Credit card stuff, bills she couldn't make, random overdrafts. Altogether, $3,400. He paused, looked up. "They asked, or you offered?" "They hinted." I responded. He shook his head. Classic. I tapped the last cell in the spreadsheet. Dentist bill. Dad's card got declined, and they didn't want to reschedule. I put it on mine. 1180 Ray added it up with the kind of focus he usually saved for IEP meetings and tracking kids who needed winter coats. He tilted the page toward me. 21,470. I stared at the number. "That," Ray said, "isn't helping. That's a second household you're carrying." I didn't argue. He was right. He leaned back in his chair and sipped his coffee. "What's your income again?" 64.8 from the district. Maybe 12 grand from tutoring, if all the students stay through spring. Ray nodded. "Not bad for a public school guy. Still doesn't cover being your parents' lender and your sister's co-signer." I closed the laptop, but I didn't move. I wasn't done yet. "I applied for senior teacher," I said. "If I get it, salary jumps to $78,500, plus an $8,000 stipend to launch the drone lab." Ray let out a low whistle. "All right, now we're talking." "I'll know in a few weeks," I added. "Principal said the board likes what I submitted." Ray didn't smile, didn't high-five me. He just raised an eyebrow and said, "Whatever happens, you stop paying for a house you don't own." The deed's in Emma's name. They planned it that way, betting you'd never check. It hit hard, but not because it was cruel, because it was the truth. That sour, dragging weight I'd been carrying turned sharp, focused, like someone had finally pulled the film off my vision and said, "Here, this is the whole picture. Look at it." I nodded. "Yeah, it's done good," Ray said. "First thing, kill the autopays, all of them. You don't owe anyone a surprise donation on the first of the month." I opened my phone and did it right there, canceled the HOA draft, stopped the recurring car payment, set manual calendar reminders for everything else, just in case. Ray watched me work. When I was done, he said, "Now you print that ledger." 3 copies. I blinked. 3? One for you. One for the family meeting. You know they're going to try and spin. And one for whoever decides emotions matter more than arithmetic. I snorted. "You think this'll actually land with them?" Ray shrugged. "They'll deny the math. They'll say it wasn't that much. They'll say it's love. Let them say what they want. You bring numbers. I stared at the total again. $21,470. That was 2 full semesters of a kid's college tuition, a used car, a kitchen remodel, and I'd handed it over piece by piece, like it didn't count if it wasn't all at once. Ray stood up, stretched his back, grabbed the calculator and slid it into his bag. "One more thing," he said. "If they hit you with the family line again, you ask them whose family you are, their son or their ATM." He left me sitting there in the cold light of the break room, a copy machine humming behind me. I opened the file menu and hit print. 3 copies. Clean, clear, bulletproof. It wasn't just math anymore. It was proof. The first of the month hit like clockwork. For the first time in over a year, I did nothing. I didn't pay the HOA. I didn't send the car payment. No reminder set, no late-night transfers. I let it sit, quiet. The silence lasted 6 days. Then my phone lit up like a slot machine on day 7. First, Mom called. "No. Hello. No. How are you?" "Lucas, the HOA just emailed us. They sent a late notice," she snapped. "They're saying there's a fine if it isn't paid by Friday." I waited a beat, then said, "I saw that. Let's sit down this weekend. Saturday dinner. We'll talk through who pays what. I'll bring some numbers." There was this pause, not long, just enough for her temperature to spike. Then, "No need to get dramatic. Just restart the drafts. We'll figure things out like we always do. Saturday," I repeated and hung up. 5 minutes later, Dad texted. "Heads up, car note bounced. Emma can't have a missed payment before the loan refinance. Fix this." I didn't answer. Instead, I opened my email. Sitting right at the top was a message from the district office. Subject: Senior teacher appointment, confirmation letter attached. I opened the PDF. It was real. Starting June 1st, my new salary would be $78,500. The $8,000 robotics grant was approved. I read it twice just to make sure it wasn't some pre-approval tease. I walked down the hall and found Ray, who was reorganizing a shelf of donated calculators. "They gave it to me," I said. He turned, squinting. "The job?" I nodded. He smiled, then shook his head like he'd been waiting for it. "You finally get what you earned, and now you better not spend it on making your parents' ledger look prettier." "I won't," I said. "That part's done." He raised his coffee like a toast and went back to sorting batteries. The next call came later that night. Emma. She started sweet, like she was selling Girl Scout cookies. "Hey, I just wanted to clear the air. Things got a little tense, but I know we're all under pressure." I leaned back on the couch, staring at the ceiling. "Okay. I'm planning the wedding, and we really need family alignment. Vendors need to know everything's stable, especially with Chase's parents involved." "Who actually owns the house?" I asked. She hesitated. "What do you mean?" "Whose name is on the deed?" Her voice turned pinched. "Mom and Dad's, obviously." I didn't say a word. Just opened my messages and dropped the county records link in the chat. Didn't add any text, just the link. She didn't respond for 3 hours. Then came the message. "It's for estate planning." Stop making it weird, I stared at it, thumb hovering. Then I typed, "Saturday dinner. Bring Chase." She didn't reply. The rest of the week spun around me, but I kept steady. The math team was prepping for state, and the energy in that room was the only thing that felt real. We stayed late running logic drills and tightening up timing for the fast rounds. I let their excitement hold me up while the family mess circled like smoke outside the building. One of the juniors, Callie, stopped me on Thursday after practice. "You okay, Mr. P? You look like you haven't slept in 3 years." I smiled. "Working on it." "You better not burn out before state," she warned. "You're the one with the snacks." I promised her I'd bring the good trail mix. Then I went back to my room and stared at the board we'd used to diagram matchups. I felt clearer than I had in months. Not happy, not calm, but clear. I'd done the math. I'd paid the bills. I'd been the helper, the fixer, the backstop. Now, I was just going to show up and hand them the numbers. Let them try to say it was love. I showed up 20 minutes early and walked into a kitchen that smelled like rosemary, garlic, and pure distraction. Mom had the big roast in the oven, the kind she saved for Easter or when she wanted to play peacemaker. She didn't greet me, just pointed toward the dining room and said, "Set the table if you're early." I didn't argue. I just pulled out the good plates, the ones with the gold rim, and set my binder dead center, black cover, zipper pouch, 3 neatly clipped copies of the ledger inside. One for them, one for me, one for anyone who got loud. Dad was already pouring wine like we were celebrating something. He saw the binder, raised an eyebrow, and said nothing. Chase and Emma walked in 10 minutes later, late as usual. He had one hand on her back like he was guiding a tour, the other buried in his phone. Emma wore some designer coat she probably got at a partner discount, all smiles like she hadn't ignored my last text. Nobody asked me how I was doing. No small talk, just everyone pretending it was a normal dinner. We sat down. Salad first, then roast, then potatoes so buttery I could see my reflection in them. I didn't touch my plate. Dad cleared his throat before the food hit the halfway mark. "Lucas," he said, resting his elbows on the table like a judge about to sentence someone, "responsibility means being there for your family. You can't just cut off support because you're in your feelings." I kept my face still and my hands calm. "Good. Let's define support." I unzipped the binder, pulled out the ledgers, and slid them across the table like report cards. Everyone reached instinctively, like the truth might be something tangible they could edit if they got to it first. I opened mine and started reading. Townhome, HOA, $310 a month, 14 months, total $4,340. No one said a word. Property taxes, April last year, $5,620. Mom reached for her wine. Chase blinked fast, like he was watching a car crash in slow motion. Emma's car. I paid $385 a month. 18 months. That's $6,930. Emma's head snapped toward me. "You paid my car?" I nodded once. "Every month, on time." "You're welcome," I moved to the next line. Credit card bailouts, 3 payments. Total of $3,400. One of those was a double payment so your card didn't go into collections. I watched as Emma's face started to harden. Not embarrassed, just calculating. And last, the dentist bill. Dad's card got declined. I paid it. $1,180. Dad leaned back in his chair. "That's not accurate." I flipped the next page. Bank statement. My name, my account, date and transaction ID. He didn't say anything after that. I leaned back. "That's $21,470 over 2 years. Not loans, not favors, payments, quiet ones. Ones I made so your lights stayed on and your credit didn't tank." Mom finally spoke, voice cold as the salad dressing. "Emma is building a future. You have a stable job. This is what families do." I pulled out the final paper, thick, with a blue seal and signature line. "Then explain this," I said, laying it flat. "The deed." House was transferred to Emma 7 months ago, while I was still paying your HOA and property taxes. Was that estate planning too? The room went dead still. The only sound was the ticking of the wall clock, one of those cheap ones that used to hang in my childhood room, now relegated to the kitchen like a broken memory. Chase leaned forward, elbows on the table. "Title planning is normal, man. It's not shady. It's a way to organize things cleanly for the future." I looked at him directly. "You knew?" He hesitated. "I assumed." "Her parents said it was handled." I turned to Emma. "Did you know?" Her eyes jumped from the paper to me, then back to Mom and Dad. She didn't answer, just shook her head and kept staring at her plate. Dad finally spoke again. We wanted to simplify things. That house will be yours someday too. No, I said. It's already hers. The paperwork says it. The state says it. That makes it simple. I stood, slow and steady. It's Emma's house. She pays Emma's bills. I'm done. Mom's face didn't move, but her voice cut sharp. You'll never be as good as your sister. I'd heard it before. Maybe not in those exact words, but always in tone. Always in comparison. I slid my copy of the ledger back into the binder, zipped it closed. Then ask your good daughter to pay her good bills. I turned to Chase as I picked up the binder. Vendors like transparency. I suggest you budget for HOA liens. I didn't yell, didn't slam a door. I walked out calm, the way someone does when they've already packed their stuff in the trunk. 2 days after the dinner, Emma called. I almost didn't answer, but something in me wanted to hear how fast the ground would shift once the bills hit. Her voice came through shaky, like she'd been crying or pretending to. The HOA sent me something, she said. A formal notice. My name's on it. It says I owe for last month, plus a late fee. Because you do, I said. You own the house now. I don't even have the login, she snapped. You log in. You pay it, I said, flat. Silence stretched long enough to fill a hallway. Then she hung up. An hour later, I got a text from Dad. Your behavior is unacceptable. This kind of disrespect has consequences. I hit archive without replying. I'd spent too long reacting to people who only noticed me when they needed something. That part of me was retired. The next day, Ray caught me in the hallway. He was holding a coffee in one hand, his reading glasses in the other. So, your mom called the school. I stared at him. Seriously? Yep. Left a message with the front office. Asked if I could talk to you. Said she wanted help getting through to you. What did you tell her? He didn't blink. Told her to stop calling staff. You're an adult. Handle your own family. I exhaled slow. Thanks. He nodded and said, You good? I'm getting there. The car payment missed its second cycle that week. I didn't say a word, but I got another text from Emma. Lender tacked on a late fee. Chase's parents were going to co-sign the refinance, but now they're pulling back. They want proof of stability. I didn't reply. She'd find out soon enough that stability isn't inherited. It's built. That Friday, the drone kits showed up. 8 boxes stacked high outside my classroom door, each one stamped with the robotics grant number I'd fought to get. I didn't open them at first. I let the kids do it. They tore the tape, pulled out hardware bags and instruction manuals, holding up circuit boards like they were magic keys. One of them shouted, "This is better than Christmas." Another kid, shy one named Aiden, just grinned and touched every piece like it might break if he wasn't careful. I stood off to the side and watched it happen. Didn't insert myself, didn't pose for a photo. Just watched. That same month we took state, the math team. They did it, clean win, no ties. 5 kids holding a trophy that was almost bigger than Nolan, our team captain. I snapped a photo right after the awards, sent it to the family group chat, captioned it, "State champs." 3 minutes later, Mom sent a thumbs up emoji. That was it. No call, no "proud of you," not even a sentence. I sat on that for half a day, then started applying out. Nothing big, nothing dramatic, just a few quiet resumes to charter networks down south. One of them, Triangle STEM in Raleigh, emailed me back 2 days after sitting in on a Zoom class I let them observe. Said they liked my energy, liked the drone program, asked if I was open to relocation. I didn't say yes, I didn't say no. Later that week, Evan, a guy I went to college with, texted me out of nowhere. "Remember that duplex on Oakleaf I told you about 2 years ago? Still available? Renter in 1 unit. Want to revisit?" I replied, "Ask me again in a month." Meanwhile, things at the Parker household kept breaking loose. The county portal posted a delinquent property tax warning. Second half of the bill hadn't been paid. Not massive, but big enough to be public. Someone noticed. Specifically, Chase's best man, some guy named Dylan who liked golf and audits. I heard through the grapevine he'd asked why Emma's name was tied to a delinquency notice on the house. That made it back to Chase's parents. Apparently their wedding gift was conditional on financial hygiene. Too bad no one had washed their hands. At night, I slept. Not perfectly, not peacefully, but better. The kind of sleep that comes after months of tension uncoiling in your chest like a rubber band snapping loose. I didn't dream much, but I didn't wake up angry either. It wasn't some dramatic peace, just the quiet that comes after you finally pick your side and decide to stay there. Triangle STEM Charter sent the offer by email, subject line, formal offer, master teacher position. I clicked it open like I was diffusing something. 92,000 base salary, 35,000 sign-on bonus, 7,500 in relocation if I moved by August 1st. I read it twice, then again. The next morning, I printed it out and walked it straight to Ray. He looked up from his desk, took the paper like it was a legal summons, and scanned it quick. Then he smiled. That signing bonus pays back what they took, and then some. I sat down next to him with my own printout, the original ledger. 21,470 in family support. Add in the HOA I would have kept paying if I'd stayed. 6 months at 310 came to 1860. Total, 23,330. I looked back at the offer. The bonus alone wiped it clean, with interest. I'm accepting, I said, done pretending it's complicated. Ray nodded. Then tell the kids. Make it a lesson in how not to disappear for other people's comfort. That week, I gave my principal 8 weeks' notice. She hugged me and said, "They're getting the best math guy in the district." I appreciated that more than she knew. When I told the kids, they booed me like I broke their hearts. Nolan threw a pencil at me and said, "Well, you better train your replacement to bring snacks." I said, "I'll leave you the Costco card and the code to the vending machine." They made me promise to send photos from Raleigh. I said I'd do them one better. We'd meet at Nationals one day. Later that night, I called my parents. I figured they deserved to hear it directly. "Hey," I said, "I'm moving." Got an offer in Raleigh. New role, grant work, robotics lab. I leave in July. There was a long pause. Then Mom said, "So you're abandoning your family?" I stayed calm. "I'm moving for my career." You used that word for Emma. She didn't answer. A day later, Emma called. Same voice she used when she needed me to pick her up from downtown because she forgot where she parked. "You can't go before the wedding," she said. "It's May. Just wait till after." "I'm not part of the wedding," I said, "and I'm not planning around one I wasn't asked to plan." "You're being really cold about this," she said. "No," I told her. "I'm being clear." A week later, Chase called. Said he wanted to talk man to man. Already a red flag. "I get the tension, I really do," he said. "But we just need the HOA covered through the honeymoon. Just a couple months. It keeps the head count clean with vendors. Everyone stays calm. You know how optics work." I let him talk, waited him out. Then I said, "No." He kept going. Something about impressions and timelines. I said it again, slower. "No." Click. After the deposit hit, I took $6,300 and paid off the tail of my student loans. I'd been chipping away at it for years, every tutoring session, every late night, and now it was gone with one transfer. I sat with the screen open longer than I needed to. The rest of the bonus? I called Evan. We opened a savings account tagged specifically for that duplex. "I'll wire you my half by next week," I told him. "Damn," he said. "You weren't kidding." "Not anymore." I drafted a formal letter to the HOA. Remove me as an authorized payer. All future communication should be sent to the deed owner, Emma Parker. Please copy her and your counsel on all notices. Printed it, signed it, mailed it. No wiggle room. No confusion. Then I bought 3 moving boxes from Home Depot and started pulling my binders from the classroom shelves. Curriculum plans, grant proposals, test archives, team photos. Packing them felt like pulling nails out of a floor I'd built myself. Not painful, just loud inside, but necessary. The lien hit the county portal on a Wednesday morning. I saw it before work while checking to confirm my own address change had gone through. There it was. Notice of HOA lien, active, non-payment. Owner listed, Emma Parker. I didn't send it to anyone. I didn't need to. You know who checks those portals religiously? Wedding planners, lenders, the kind of people who use phrases like due diligence and long-term exposure. That Friday, Emma called. Her voice was raw, mascara already in motion. Chase's parents pulled the wedding gift. Their accountant found the lien. And the car note she sniffed. His mom said we need financial hygiene. I didn't fake concern. Then wash up, I said. You'll figure it out. It's your house. Your bills. She hung up without another word. The next blow landed within 24 hours. Emma tried to move the wedding date, probably to buy time or clean up paperwork. The venue wouldn't budge. They kept half the deposit. Policy, nothing personal. That's when she texted. Just one word. Seriously? I didn't respond. Not until Mom sent me a wall of texts the next day. A long, hand-wringing note about family reputations and how none of this reflects who we are. I screenshotted the deed transfer, sent it with no caption, left it at that. A couple days later, Ray caught me by the vending machines. Your dad called me again, he said. Wanted to talk about stress and misunderstandings. I raised an eyebrow. And? Ray sipped his coffee and said, told him, stop using your son's work as slack in your rope. Thanks, I said, and I meant it. I kept my head down at school after that. Not out of shame, just to finish clean. No loose ends. That weekend I made a post on LinkedIn. Simple. One photo. My new lab in Raleigh, still empty, but full of potential. Caption, excited to build something new. 2 of my old students commented within an hour. One said, you changed the way I saw myself. The other just wrote, thanks, Mr. Parker. That meant more than any toast or fake celebration I'd ever had with my family. On my last Saturday in Dayton, I took the math team out for burgers. My treat. They didn't know I was leaving for good yet. Not really. But I think they felt it. There was a weird calm in the air, like the end of a school year you're not ready for. As we were leaving, Nolan handed me a folded piece of notebook paper. I opened it in the parking lot after they'd all piled into their parents' cars. Thanks for fighting for us. I folded it and slid it into my wallet behind my driver's license. Still have it. Emma and Chase ended up doing a backyard ceremony. No vendors, no photo ops, just plastic chairs and a Bluetooth speaker from what I heard. I wasn't invited. Fine by me. The next morning, I packed my Camry with my drone kits, my toolbox, and 3 moving boxes of binders and notes. Left the empty apartment keys in the mailbox and hit the highway south. Windows down. No debt that wasn't mine. The first time I swiped my keycard at the new lab in Raleigh, the door clicked open like it belonged to me. Fresh floors, clean shelves, empty tables waiting for something to happen. No history hanging in the corners. Just space and light and silence I didn't have to earn. The bonus hit my account the next day. Full amount. I stared at the number on my phone longer than I should have. Not because I didn't believe it, but because I finally did. I moved into a 1-bedroom near the Greenway. Nothing fancy, but quiet. No one calling in favors. No check engine lights on someone else's car. That first night, I slept through without waking once. No stomach knots, no guilt alarms. During week 1, a kid named Malik solved a combinatorics problem before I finished writing it on the board. He shrugged like it was nothing. When I asked how he got there, he said, I just saw it. I nodded, smiled, and remembered exactly why I do this. I blocked my parents' numbers the day I arrived. I didn't plan to, but after the second silent ride through downtown, I realized I needed space. Clean space. A month later, I unblocked them. That same day, Mom sent me a GoFundMe link titled, Help Save Our Family Home. There was a whole paragraph about unexpected hardship, and family legacy. The house was still in Emma's name. I didn't donate. Ray called to check in like he always did. No fluff, no build-up. "You good?" he asked. I looked around my new lab, drone kits stacked in the corner, lesson plans on the wall, and said, "Better than good." He paused, then said, "Then keep doing the boring adult stuff. Save, invest. Sleep." He hung up without saying goodbye. That was fine with me. Evan sent a photo that weekend, a small 2-unit duplex on Oakleaf Drive. Red brick, simple trim, walkable neighborhood. We ran numbers together on Zoom. Even after savings and a modest buffer, the rest of my signing bonus covered my share clean. No stretch, no risk. We bid. We got it. I didn't tell anyone back home. Didn't need to. Word got back to me anyway. Emma's lender hiked her rate after the lien notice. They fixed it months later, but the higher payment stuck. Not as punishment, just math. Gravity doing its thing. I mailed my parents a letter on heavy paper, 1 page. I thanked them for what they did right when I was a kid. The rides to track meets, that math camp fee in 8th grade. Then I wrote, "I won't be paying your bills anymore. Don't ask." I signed it, no flourish, no PS. A few weeks later, I got a voicemail from Chase. "Hey, Lucas." No hard feelings. We were in over our heads. Just wanted to say that I didn't call back. Sometimes people figure themselves out when the music stops. On a gray morning, before students arrived, I pulled the state trophy from my Ohio team out of the moving box and set it on the top shelf of my new lab. One of the kids asked, "Did you win that?" I said, "The team did." Back home, they didn't care about where it came from. They just wanted to know if they could win one too. I told them yes. I'm 58 now, telling you this, so you don't waste your 30s paying for a version of your family that only exists in photos. The revenge wasn't loud. It wasn't a speech. It wasn't a slap. It was walking away, pulling my money and my time, letting the truth stand on its own 2 legs. That, and building a life where I'm not invisible in my own house. Have you ever stopped funding family drama to save yourself? Answer in comments, good story, or your take. If this hit, like and subscribe. 1 click helps us a lot.
YouTube picked this for you. Tap it. Let's see if they guessed right.